This is Average Person Thinks in YouTube, and I am in AXPONA 2019. Here I have Ted from PS Audio, and they have a revolutionary new DAC product in the market, and Ted will talk about it, and I'm very excited. The sound inside I heard is awesome. We'll take a sound demo after this, but here's Ted to talk about it. Ted, please go ahead.
Hi, I'm Ted Smith, and I design PS Audio's digital things like that. I've always believed in DSD from the first moment I heard it, and it changed my life. So I've been designing DSD-based DACs that give the kind of sound that I really like. And to do that, DSD is really simple. You just low-pass filter, you get the audio, but there's a lot of details dealing with jitter, timing, your power supplies and everything like that. So on the newest product, in order to cut down noise and stuff, we're going to have two boxes. One that takes all the inputs and upsamples it to 56 megahertz and then brings it down to an 11 megahertz DSD, and a separate box which is basically a glorified low-pass filter that takes the 11 megahertz DSD and produces audio. The beauty of DSD is that's inherently linear. PCM DACs may not have the exact same step size with each bit change. DSD is always the same step size. It's either here or here. To make the new DAC easier to integrate in people's systems, we'll make every input have user-selectable ground lifts. We'll make it so that the power supplies work better with most people's systems by only taking the current from the sides of the pulse and staying out of the way of the other parts in the system. And by having an optical interconnect between the DACs, it'll make them much less sensitive to system noise and also make it generate less noise for the rest of the customer system.
And why do you think it's different from anybody else's DAC that is in the market currently?
The biggest difference actually is the DSD, as I described. Many of the DACs that are out there convert PCM or DSD to 5-bit sigma delta, and then in order to fit it on a chip, they have to have like 32 low quality output stages, and they randomly select to average out the noise. That makes it fit in a chip this big, but when you're fitting everything in a chip this big, you've got to have the clock signals, the digital signals, and the analog signals all go through the same space, so they're going to interfere. By having the analog box be this big, all of those things are separated out to their own places. They don't interfere with each other. And I'm free to, for example, use an FPGA in the digital box to do as good a processing as possible. Much better processing than you get on a chip this big. And that means I can do better algorithms. I can change the algorithms from one release to the next. Every release of the direct stream stuff has had a better sound quality in the last, according to almost all customers. And the beauty of PS Audio is if you don't like the new release, stay on the old release. We don't care. And so if it works better with the old release on your system, fine.
So you mean by the software updates?
Yeah, the software updates.
So this will also have software updates,
exactly,
which will improve the sound a lot.
Yes. And every release I do for the new product will also be back-ported to the older products in parallel, whatever the hardware can handle. In truth, the hardware interfaces are very similar as far as the FPGA is concerned, so almost everything translates. From release to release, most of the innovation has been in algorithms, just doing a better technical job of flatter frequency response, better linear phase response. Every time you make those better, it sounds better.
So I understood that you're talking about the technicalities, why it will be different from any other DAC in the market, but what do you think will be the difference in sound quality? Like if I'm talking about, say, clarity, say how real it sounds, how like the airs between the instruments, and then, for example, how the sound stage is. Where do you think you will beat the other competitors?
Well, the current DAC has an excellent sound staging. The thing is the more coherent your phase is, and the more balanced your channels are, and the dual mono kind of construction, everything else gives you much better sound staging. This will be even better than that by having, 4 independent analog power supplies and having higher precision resistors instead of just 0.01%. I'll be using multiple ones in parallel to get even better sound staging. The DSD to me is sort of like open to infinity. On the top end, there's no hiss or maybe a sort of disquieting feeling or whatever like that. So I really appreciate it on that side. And on the bass, it's also more accurate, and it's amazing. The better your bass gets, the better everything gets. I mean, until you've really heard, good bass, you don't really understand that. But once you have it, drum hits, any kind of transients and everything sounds so much cleaner with DSD than they do with PCM, at least in my experience. Now, I've learned over time that an excellent PCM implementation also sounds very good. But when you're listening in the soundstage with DSD, everything feels really solid. Well, that's what stereo means, right? Solid. When you listen to a PCM, everything still can be in the same place, but it's just a little more ghostly. It's not quite as real. It's not quite as involving. And I've always, if you're not being involved in the music, if the music doesn't pull you in or relax you, whatever, then it's not as good as it could be.
So the music being played here is DSD?
Everything we're playing they're doing right now, I shouldn't say everything, most of it's PCM, and the DAC just takes in whatever you give it, PCM or DSD, and then up samples 54 megahertz and then back to DSD. So we use excellent quality filters to take the PCM to DSD, and then after that, then we have a completely linear output because it's now DSD. So it's sort of the best of both worlds in that sense. And to be completely technical, the DSD goes up to 54 megahertz, 30 bits wide, just like the PCM goes up to 50 megahertz, 30 bits wide. So they go to a common format. The common format is the best of PCM in the wide word width, and it's the best in DSD in a high sample rate. And then we come down to a single bit output just to get the complete linearity. That makes the output really simple. It's a low pass filter. And I like passive low pass filters, so you're not injecting more noise. You take a big signal, and you filter it, you're filtering the noise as well as signal, and that's how you get the analog. Most chips end up with a very small voltage that you have to amplify, and that's adding noise rather than subtracting noise.
I mean, whenever I heard DSD before, even from very good systems, it is clarity is hi-fi, it sounds nothing like I've ever heard before. But it sounds also kinda artificial. I don't get that organic feeling, but more as the time goes, the DSD, the implementation is way better. I'm talking about previous DSDs. It sounds super clear, but kinda technical. So I think we are getting, and this sounds awesome. And then we'll record a sound demo. And thanks, Ted. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.